Welcome to Green Hills Shadow Chapter 16 Aftermath from the Night. Morning came in the Wachowski household. Normal routines were not happening. No one even bothered to get up. Wade was curled on the couch, blanket over his head. Sonic was awake but played absent-mindedly on his phone. Tails was hugging into his older echidna brother who accepted the need but did not speak much. All three too tired to move off their mattresses. Tom had gotten up a lot through the morning to check if Shadow was still breathing. He was luckily, but the black sapient was still out. Maddie mumbled tiredly, forcing herself up to check on his bag of fluid and blood. Ozzy let out a bark up the stairs indicating he once let out, and to Tom's surprise, it was Sonic who got up to let the dog out to go about his business. Tom groaned, feeling his face. He needed a wash after last night. He still had some of Shadow's blood on his clothes, but he's so tired. He had zero energy for anything, but then he looked at the time, realization kicking in. That he had his work today and he was severely late.
Darn it!
He cried out, too tired that his brain forgot Tails was in the room. Knuckles as well as the fox sat up in a panic, thinking something was wrong with Shadow.
I'm late.
Tom quickly got up and ran to get his phone and explain why he didn't turn up. Wade let out his own tired groan and pulled the blanket over himself further.
Some people are still trying to sleep here.
Oh, get up, Wade.
Tom snapped, getting his phone from the kitchen, and began to dial the number.
They don't have their sheriff or deputy?
Tom completely forgot it was his shift. And Wade was absent too. Great start. Maddie rubbed her head tiredly, feeling a migraine develop after the events. After hearing what Shadow had to say about his past. How are they going to tell the boys this? Would it be better to just pull the band-aid off, sit them all down and say, or wait for Shadow to? Being a parent and an adult was a hard and tricky thing to balance at times. She looked at her phone, deciding she should call up and explain she won't be in for the next week again. Family emergency. But first her BlackBerry needed looked at. Sonic sighed. He got up and zipped off suddenly. Tom came back from the kitchen.
Okay, I've managed to explain why me and Wade didn't turn up.
Verdict? Maddie asked, tucking the blanket around Shadow's body gently after examining him and his pulse.
So I said you and Wade were out of town last night having a meal. Came back home, and we have food poisoning.
Wade sat up immediately and shot his best friend a look of disbelief.
That's the best you could come up with.
I can't exactly say I have a skittish alien visitor.
He paused, not wanting Tails to know that part at all.
What am I supposed to say when you also had mysteriously not turn up?
He shot his hands up in the air.
Give me your wisdom, O wise Whipple.
Wade growled and covered his face with his hands, not believing the excuse.
Tom, we can't keep hiding him forever.
I am aware. If that's the wisdom I'm getting, it's rubbish. I want a refund.
Refund.
Okay, let's cool it, boys. Shadow is far too injured to even be thinking about going in public right now. So let's wait until he heals and the truth will come out. So don't worry there.
Maddie explained. She gets it. She doesn't want to lie to people either. But she hopes to try get Shadow to actually walk around town. He needs to heal first, and she doesn't know how long that will take, even with his supposedly amazing healing. Well, since Tom said they had food poisoning, it's just what they have to work with. Knuckles then noticed the box that held the Master Emerald. It had opened it yet again somehow. Then he felt the comforting tug of it. He sighed, earning a rhythmic hum of bemused intent from the emerald. It had moments where it was wise, but other times it just acted upon its own intent and not really care. He really needs to understand it better or go to the temple and out more if he can. Unbeknownst to the Maddie and the family, the emerald understood that Shadow was like a battery. Chaos energy was drawn to him. His inhibitors were currently giving stored up energy he had gathered from being around the emerald to help aid his injuries. It was gradual but surety. So the Master Emerald was nearby in case he needed more.
Alright, let's start the day.
Maddie mentioned, earning groans from every single member apart from the out-cold black sapient.
You all rather just laze about.
Absolutely. Today is a good day for just being lazy and sleepy.
Well, I for one am getting into a shower.
Tom winced, not at all enjoying how his body felt.
I'm tired, but I need to freshen myself up.
You do look like you've greeted war and got beaten.
Knuckles mused, getting an undignified stare off his father.
Just less battle scars.
Thanks, son.
He muttered dryly. Tails rolled himself over closer to Shadow. He could just smell the mint of Luna the dragon, and he sighed contently.
Mint is so good to relax with.
He muttered. Sonic snorted.
Obsessed.
Am not.
It causes delusions too, I see.
He grinned at Tails' unamused face. At least the boys were being normal, well, normal as they can be. They might be just trying to get through the day without mentally breaking down further than they already had. But their normal behavior did not last as the hours ticked by. Shadow did not move or make a sound. He was breathing, yes, but they were hoping he would wake up soon. It was the child within them all still. Not fully understanding it may take Shadow a while before he even could open his eyes. Tom went into the shower, keeping his boxers on and not at all caring if they got wet, scrubbing his arms hard as his brain relived the memory of Shadow being in his arms, over and over, the ebony hedgehog's blood all over him, and he bit his lip. It wasn't Shadow's fault, and it never will be. But what happened did affect the human more than he could ever have guessed. And he kept at it, losing track how long he was in the shower. Maddie pulled back the shower curtain. She wanted to check since he had been in here for 15 minutes. She examined the deep coloration of her husband's bruise on his shoulder. It looked awful, and it must feel awful.
Tom.
I'm fine, Maddie.
He whispered, staring absent-mindedly at the water on the bathtub floor while he kept scrubbing away. His own voice screaming the black hedgehog's name still inside his head. He could still feel Shadow's breath on his neck. She pursed her lip, taking in her husband. He just looked so unlike himself. It worried her greatly. He looked so sad, so defeated, it wasn't like him at all. So she stepped in fully clothed, not at all caring if she would get wet.
Tom?
She reached out to touch him, but he flinched from her contact.
Honey.
I said I'm fine.
He said with more force than he intended. But she persisted and touched his face gently, and he just looked incredibly sad.
Don't push me away, Tom.
She muttered, leaning in and hugging her husband. He didn't return it at first, but after several minutes he reached up and returned her embrace, his face against her neck, breathing into her neck as he shut his eyes to stop the tears from falling. He clung to her with great need, accepting the comfort only she could offer and bring him. And she just held him like that, getting wetter from the shower, but she did not care. Her husband needed this. And in a way, he was comforting her too. They stayed in the shower for another 10 minutes or so. Wade ended up staying the entire day. He wasn't ready to leave, not until he's sure he apologized to the black hedgehog for hitting him with his car. Unintentional, but it still got to his heart. And before anyone knew it, night befell them once again. Sonic was playing Zelda with Tails, both still on their mattresses near the black sapient, with Knuckles attempting to read Watership down to the unconscious hedgehog, but also himself. He couldn't quite understand some of the words, unfortunately, with Tails pipping up when he was stuck on words. The adults were in the kitchen, sipping away at coffee, and occasionally kept peeking in to check on the boys. Ozzy was with the adults. They didn't want to risk Shadow's injuries with the retriever's tail. Ozzy wouldn't know any better. Tom had a chart sheet he had drawn out. Over Gerald, over the space colony, and over how Shadow factors in.
Okay, so Gerald had a sick granddaughter who needed low gravity to make sure the illness...
NIDS.
Tom replied, writing down something.
That, to keep it at bay, he made a space colony called...
Space Colony Ark.
Maddie sipped her coffee, looking over the sheet.
That happens to be outside Earth's atmosphere, and we somehow have never seen it. Never seen it on TV or talked about by the moon landing people. He finds out about Mobians somehow, just like with Sonic, how created Shadow to cure Maria. Okay, so am I caught up there?
Yes, government funded the research. I'm assuming since he mentioned to Tails, found out about Shadow being created and decided to go against Gerald?
Guess, work, but go on.
Maddie pointed out a correction in Tom's writing, who quickly rubbed it out.
Killed everyone on the Ark, the granddaughter included to get to Shadow. Gerald, I'm also assuming here, was taken care of too? Then Shadow was imprisoned down here on Earth by G1 for who knows how many years and locked away to be experimented on further by, again I say,
Who knows what?
somehow escapes and ends up here in Green Hills. And GU. And don't know, or if they do, they just can't find him? Am I caught up with how insane all this sounds?
Probably.
It's insane. I'm all for protecting the kid, don't get me wrong. But when did I wake up and suddenly enter Ghost in the Shell?
You watch too much anime.
Maddie sighed, rubbing her face tiredly.
How dare you mock the glory of anime? Sonic and I happen to be connoisseurs in that regard.
I can tell. You act like another.
Tom then twirled his pencil, looking at his chart. Pieces were still to be fitted in and questions to be asked without making Shadow bolt again. If Shadow is 15 or 16, then this happened within roughly a 5 to 10 year gap. And it was all covered up, swept under the rug.
Is Rachel giving Randall a chance? Because I don't feel comfortable with her coming here for Sonic's birthday, if that's the case.
Maddie's eyes widened and she banged her head on the counter. Realizing Sonic's birthday isn't far away, JoJo is coming, which meant Rachel was too. Which also meant the family would be meeting Shadow.
Actually, I don't know. I could phone and ask her, slyly.
June 23rd, right? We've been saying he's 14, but it's going to be official. Where has this month gone?
We entered a roller coaster of a man-made hedgehog.
Tom replied, writing down something else.
Do I remember everything this past month? No, because I haven't gotten off the ride yet.
Honey.
I'm not acknowledging it right now. If I do, then I'm one step away from being under the ground. I already got too much information the past day or so. My noggin can't take much more of this.
So, when are you going to tell the boys?
Wade added, making Tom freeze, his pencil falling off his hand. He just fried his brain by the looks of it because he stopped working. Maddie hesitantly called to her husband. He didn't answer either of them. Maddie and Wade looked to each other with concern.
He stopped working.
The deputy sipped his coffee.
Maddie, how am I going to tell him? Should I even tell him? That takes the option away from Shadow. I don't want to be like them.
She pursed her lip, seeing the freak out about to come back at full force. She wrapped her arms around her husband and hugged him tightly.
We'll tell him together about the Robotnik part. It's tough, I know. We can't keep secrets from them, Tom.
She kissed his cheek and he swallowed.
Even if it's to protect them?
Even then, you're afraid that they'll treat Shadow differently when they find out, aren't you?
She said in sympathy to her husband's predicament.
I told him we'd be there for him no matter what, but I still didn't take into consideration how the boys would feel.
He covered his face with his hands, groaning.
Why does the universe hate me, like it wants to prove me wrong?
You're looking at this the wrong way. I happen to think the universe loves you.
Maddie said, earning a disbelief-eyed glance from her husband, and she continued.
Because it knows we can handle the challenges it's given us.
That's one way to look at it.
Wade muttered, then gave Maddie a sheepish smile from the death glare she had given him.
Regardless, we just need to let them know Shadow may come from the Robotnik line. But he is nothing like them. Look how close all of them have gotten this past month with him. And if Sonic was willing to move on from the one Robotnik that tricked Knuckles and vice versa, I'm sure it can happen here too.
She had to be optimistic here. She believed in her boys. Sure, it may sting and hurt that Shadow was a Robotnik, but he hasn't done anything to intentionally harm. And if Maria was as kind as Shadow said she was, maybe not all of them were essentially bad? That would be comparing Knuckles to the ancestor he mentioned in his stories. But how do you tell them? That is something she and Tom are trying to currently come up with. Tell them now while they're drained, tired, and emotional. Rip the Band-Aid off. But that wouldn't be fair on Shadow being out cold now, would it? It would save him the reaction should they happen to freak out like they currently are. Or do they say about it once Shadow is out the woodworks? Everyone's recovered from the emotional roller coaster? Being an adult is difficult. Parent even more so.
Shadow didn't ask for any of it. What happened to him? I'm sure the boys would understand that, 'cause they didn't either.
She muttered, kissing him on the cheek again. Her husband had so much love to give. That's another reason she fell for him. Shadow appearing under their family just felt like it was meant to be. Because the boy needs understanding, and there's none more who try than Tom. Tom sighed tiredly and leaned into her. He needs to make a plan with her and work it out as a family. It was better to do it, as much as it would feel wrong not to let Shadow tell them. But Tom thought about it more and more, mostly over Gerald. How can Shadow love a man, admire a man like Gerald Robotnik, when he told Shadow he wasn't a person when Maria died? Anger and grief makes people do and say stuff. But it still shouldn't have gave him the right to do that to Shadow, because he lost his sister just like Gerald lost his granddaughter. He wasn't even allowed to grieve before being locked away like an animal. That poor kid. It hurt Tom so much when he thought about it.
Give it another day or two. Shadow is in recovery. Everyone's emotions are high. If you do it while it is, they may react badly or not fully take it in. but I would still give them more credit. They are understanding kids. They all have tragic circumstances, so we need the right mindset.
Tom numbly nodded. He and Maddie can have their freak out one extra day, then tell the kids so they can have their own. Sounds like a plausible plan. He just hopes they take it well. Granted, it was just a waiting game for him to wake up. Shadow was watching the planet below from the safety windows of the Ark, hugging his knees. Earth was always so fascinating to him. The blue sea and the green and desert parts of the planet that slowly spun around, and the sun and moon meeting its rotation. Almost like an eternal dance they shared, that the planet was their child. It was a silly notion, but that's something he liked to think about.
Shadow.
His ears picked up the soft voice of a girl, but he kept watching the planet.
Are you tired?
He heard her make her way to him, her footsteps loud against the metal floorings of the Ark.
Just somewhat, it was. Another long day.
He felt lethargic after medical trials. Gerald would take an account of his factors and would try and math it in his head against Maria's. Didn't always work, however. She was human, he was a man-made Mobian. He's supposed to cure her. Why is it so slow?
I'm sorry.
He heard her say. She always felt bad that he was having to go through things to make her better, but he isn't. Because if it ultimately helps her, then he would gladly do it again. So both of them can keep their promise and see the world together. He went silent, angry at himself. He should be the key to medicines. So why is it? He sighed and bit his lip. He felt her take a seat next to him, books in hands. He took a curious glance.
So I have classics. Cinderella or Beauty and the Beast.
Her sapphire eyes twinkled, matching the blue outfit she wore, making her golden blonde hair stand out against everything. He snorted and looked at his older sister.
Maria, classics they may be, but I can't say it's appropriate.
Oh, just choose one, silly.
Beauty and the Beast.
She just knew he would pick that and she laughed.
You asked.
He scoffed but had a smile on his face.
Yet you're the one who says it's not appropriate. So let's continue where we left off.
He leaned into her arm with his head gently, watching the planet below once more while she read the pages out to him. He listened to her, both staying like that hours on end if they could. But something was nagging him. What was it?
If you had a favorite princess, who would it be?
You're joking.
Nope. Gotta answer me, baby brother.
Okay, 1. I'm not a baby. 2. No.
He felt her gaze at him and she faked a gasp, being all dramatic, moving her other hand to her chest in fake offense.
You don't have a favorite princess from these stories?
Then tell me yours.
I quite like Cinderella.
She twirled her finger.
Oh, we have to watch the film. Grandfather has it so we can watch it on the film projector.
Well, Cinderella and her actually have similarity, the hair color kinda and the blue eyes. He's not seen the film, but he has seen art from Maria herself. He chuckled and she returned her gaze of expectation. He sighed and had to think. They watched Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs not that long ago, and just the way Snow White was reminded him a lot of Maria, the soft-spoken voice, the kindness, just lack of animals. But if Maria was on Earth, he could very well imagine it would be the same. He isn't too interested in the princesses of each story, but Maria liked them, so if he had to choose, well, he had his answer.
Snow White.
He replied with certainty, and her eyes seemed to sparkle even more.
You like Snow White? That's so cute.
She giggled, earning a grumble off the ebony hedgehog.
You asked.
He yawned. He mostly did it for her, otherwise he doesn't really care all that much. He felt her close the book to the side, then pulling his head down to lay on her knees.
Maria.
Oh, let's just sit and watch the planet.
She began to stroke his quills with love and care.
Grandfather is busy. He can't lecture me when he can't see me.
She hummed. Why did he feel so tired all of a sudden? Lethargic, sure, he understood that. Was it an after effect of the medications? A flash of green begged to differ on the metal of the Ark. He's seen that before, but where and when? His back felt like it was on fire. Was it the position he was in before? His arm also feels like it's the same. What's going on?
Oh, Shadow, any other book we should try order?
She asked, her voice sounding like it was drifting off.
Grandfather's making a trip to the planet soon.
I don't know. Whatever you recommend.
Oh, you are sleepy. I wish you weren't forced upon by these experiments or tests. I don't like you suffering just to make me feel better. I wish there was a better way.
You are my world.
He said, as tired he felt. He said it with certainty.
My treasure, I rather it me than you.
What a sweet brother I have.
She kissed the top of his head gently.
I might need to be careful. Snow White might come take him from me.
No, he's certain even with her power, he would always choose Maria. He groaned, snuggling into her, taking a deep breath.
You'll love the Earth, Shadow. I can't wait for the day we both go.
She had excitement in her voice. Shadow sighed tiredly.
I'm not sure if there's a place for me on Earth or Mobius. I'm not like you. I'm not like them.
Of course there is. You aren't any different from me, silly.
He chuckled.
You don't have fur or quills.
Well, that may be true, my adorable brother. We have hearts, souls, and that's all matters.
He could tell she was smiling softly at him. He yawned again.
I do wonder how Grandfather found out about beings like you. Mobius sounds so interesting.
Maybe we could ask him. Why am I so tired?
I'll hum a lullaby for you so you can rest. You need it.
Shadow's eyes began to droop as she stroked his quills, and she hummed, her voice drifting off further. The arc was darkening as he closed his eyes. As much as he wanted to stay awake and talk to her longer, his body demanded otherwise. He'll talk to her when he wakes up. Both can make a plan to see Cinderella just for her.
I love you, Maria.
I love you too, Shadow.
That was the last thing he heard. Shadow felt heavy. His ears could make out people's voices more than Maria's. Was he moved to his room? He had a nest of blankets in the room, so maybe Gerald moved him. He went to move. Then the pain jolted him into awareness and he bit back the moan. His arm and back, specifically, his hip and leg, just felt extremely bruised. Did he go through a test on the Ark? When? Why is his mind so foggy? He was just watching the planet with Maria. Then the scent of mint entered his nose. He's so confused. When did they put scents in his room?
Sonic, turn that down a little.
A familiar woman's voice entered his ears.
Why are you listening to steps?
Oh, that's not a scientist's name.
Just felt like it.
A younger voice he picked up. Shadow became even more aware, his memory playing catch up. He's not on the Ark, he's on the planet, and his eyes shot open, his vision trying to adjust. His sight caught the fox's dragon, cuddled into the black hedgehog. That's why he smelled mint, but why was it here? The familiar sense of the household also made it to his nose. He was in the house? When did he get back? He was out in the woods with Tom. He heard Sonic sing to a song that was playing on his phone. It sounded quite upbeat despite the lyrics. But he sounded soft-spoken, like trying to keep his voice down. Why did that feel like irony?
Classic.
He heard another voice, it was Tom. Then Sonic laughed some.
See? Dad gets it. It's a 90s song, Mom.
Sonic sounded tired. In fact, the voices he did pick up sounded tired.
It's required every now and again.
Every voice thus far was soft-spoken, though, that he noticed.
Who's winning, baby?
She yawned, and Shadow picked up on Tails' excited voice.
I am. Uncle Wade is losing.
He proudly announced. Wade is here. It sounded like they both were behind him on the couch.
I can't believe an 8-year-old is beating me at Mario Golf.
The deputy grumbled out. Shadow noticed his surroundings from his position. He was in the living room. Someone's mattress was beside him at the front, and Luna. He felt the fan above them blow air, gently keeping the room cooled. What is going on? He doesn't remember much. He remembers Tom hugging him. But the human began to panic over something. That's when he fell asleep. Or did he black out? Maybe one of them could tell him why his back felt like someone put him through a gun. Series 005 Hunter. Those things could hurt. He's been on the receiving end of one after all. He tried to move again, and that was a massive regret because his insides sent a wave of pain to his nerves, and he couldn't hold back groan that time. He instinctively curled, Luna squeezing into him. His arm wasn't quite happy with him either. He has advanced healing, but that doesn't mean the pain is magically adjusted with it. His hip and leg are prime examples. Bruising, yes, no doubt, but if he had any dangerous fractures, his body would have dealt with it over the hours he slept. He healed a lot quicker than the average person and Mobian combined, so the pain will eventually fade. But his movement and sound caught someone's attention. He heard the sound of Yoshi on the TV screen, but he felt someone lean over him.
Shadow?
His tired eyes drifted to the side to see, and it was the fox standing over him. His angle was hard to see because his back was facing the fox, so he tried to twist his body just slightly again to greet him. His tired red eyes met his light blue eyes, which widened, and then his lip quivered. What? He was suddenly body tackled, and he let out a grunt of pain, feeling the fox wrap his arms around his upper body and hugged his entire face.
Shadow, you're awake.
Shouting in his ear wasn't helping Tails. Why is the fox so excited to see him considering what happened the other day? Honestly, the more he tries to be logical, the less it is with this family.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Tails said in quick succession. That made him even more confused. Why was the kid apologizing? Shadow felt extremely weirded out by it, but he was too tired to try get him off. He may as well surrender to the fox. He closed his eyes, lifting his arm best he could to return the gesture, and Tails hugged all the more tighter. He heard Wade pause the game.
Tails, you don't just tackle an injured person.
Tails blinked and jumped back, realizing he was likely squeezing a little too hard, near his injured arm, and back with his clothes he had been. Wade leaned over, and despite the circles under the black sapient's eyes, he saw life within those ruby-colored eyes as Shadow halfway opened them, and he sighed with huge relief. Shadow was a mess, and he certainly looked like he went through the ringer. He gave him a tired smile.
Hey there, Shadow. Sorry, did Tails hurt you? He was just excited to see you awake there.
Shadow took a deep breath and turned ever so slightly to face them, his insides and back flaring in protest. He took in Wade, and his beard had gotten a little more wild. He looked quite tired, drained. Unusual. Both the yellow fox and human looked as tired as Shadow felt. Why is he so tired? His reserves must be depleted. But the sound just alerted the other members of the household, and he heard the scattering of feet and clinking of whatever they were doing, as his line of sight caught the unshaven appearance of Tom, the unkempt appearance of both him and Maddie, and a disheveled blue hedgehog whose quills weren't kept like they usually do. Knuckles even looked extremely tired. Questions filled his mind. Why did everyone look exhausted and unkept, especially in the daytime? For the time he's been in the Wachowski household, they'd be at the normal routine, and the humans would be on the move, neat and tidy. More unusual.
Oh, Shadow.
Maddie smiled at him, but he could see the exhaustion plain on her face.
Hi, baby. I'm happy to see you awake.
She leaned over and stroked his face gently with her hand, something she and Maria have in common. They always like to show affection with touch. He groaned and went to force himself on his elbows, but he was gently kept in place.
No, Shadow, just lay there.
She muttered. He chewed his lip. Why is everyone so relieved? He doesn't understand it. He caused a ruckus and hurt Tom. Unintentional, yes, but even so. The smell of mint still in his vicinity. He had to admit, though, it was a nice scent.
Shadow, my brother, I'm glad to see you. It is a silly question, but how are you feeling?
Physically or emotionally? The question must have been on his face, 'cause Tom piped up.
Either really.
What's going on?
His voice sounded raspy.
I'm fine.
He managed out. He must be out of it still, 'cause he didn't register he talked around Wade, and neither did the deputy. Maddie held out his starry tumbler, and he reached out shakily for it. But Maddie put her spare hand under his head and lifted him up enough and put the cup to his mouth. Why are they still so caring? But he gladly took the drink. It felt so good on his parched throat. He ended up drinking half of it before she pulled it away to make sure he didn't make himself ill.
Are you really fine, Shadow?
Tom asked, making the sapient tiredly look up at his questioning.
You aren't just saying that.
He pursed his lip, trying to think of a way to express himself. But they aren't helping with them all just over worrying.
Physically, I'll be fine.
He muttered, that's the way he's always been. He's had to be fine.
Mentally, I'm trying to understand.
Wade still didn't realize he spoke around him, and quite frankly neither did Shadow. Or if he did, he didn't care right now. Tom made a HM sound and crouched down on the mattress beside Maddie, who kept rubbing the sapient's cheek. Felt nice, but why is she being so openly affectionate to him? Tom reached out and pressed his head against Shadow's forehead, like he usually does when tries to comfort him. What is going on? They usually weren't as affectionate because of his boundaries, but right now, they aren't caring for that. Tom pulled back and gave him a small smile. But his vein felt something cold, finally registering to the black sapient, and his eyes shot past Luna, seeing a tube of clear go upward somewhere above him. And the endpoint was? Maddie began to look extremely nervous, as did Tom. Knuckles prepared himself for what was about to potentially come from Shadow. Tails could see the gears change in their heads, and he too gulped. Shadow lifted his head ever so slightly, and his arm, and he saw it. The tube was going in his arm and his breath hitched. They injected him with something. His anxiety rose dramatically and his other arm shot out in an effort to grab it, but Maddie was quicker. She quickly held onto his hand to stop him from pulling it out.
Shadow, baby.
He growled viciously, but his eyes noticed another tube in his other arm and his eyes widened. He twisted his head up finally, seeing a medical pole with bags attached to it, a clear one and dried up blood? Why was there blood going into him? Or was? Tails grew nervous and Wade pulled him into his arms, watching the storm that was passing on Shadow. He was about to try again, but Maddie held on firmly.
Shadow, it's just fluid.
He growled again but louder, trying to force himself up, but Tom held on just as firmly on his shoulders to prevent it.
Shadow, bud. It's okay.
Tom said, trying to assure him, but his heart broke at the next sentence.
Don't do this to me. That's what they used to do.
He cried out, getting agitated and his voice rising. Tom bit his lip from hearing that. Shadow began to thrash under them, all in an effort to pull out the needles. His nerves flaring up from the pain.
Shadow, it's only fluid?
Maddie repeated, and she held onto his hand for dear life. Guilt on both of them for holding him down like this. Shadow's eyes shot at them, wanting an explanation. He looked so upset, betrayal in those red eyes of his.
Why would you do this to me?
His voice cracked, ears were pinned back, and he sounded so upset, so hurt. He felt betrayed. Tom swallowed hard, the guilt getting heavier in his heart for keeping Shadow down. But he needs the fluids. He doesn't care if he has super healing. He needs every help he can get.
Because you were hurt, Shadow.
Maddie kept her firm grip on his hand, rubbing as comfortably as she could.
You were so hurt, baby.
She whispered, and Shadow finally took in her expression, halting his feelings of betrayal. How hurt was he? He got hit by a car, sure, but he still could get up. He tumbled down the woods. He might have mangled his arm, but nothing that actively would have done that to the humans, the worry and emotional bags under their eyes.
Shadow, what do you remember?
Knuckles asked, having made his way beside his parents in case they needed help keeping Shadow still. He was about to, but wisely did not. Shadow might have tried harder and hurt himself worse if he had. But the ebony hedgehog didn't respond. He was trying to process what he was seeing and feeling. Wade whispered something to Tails, who frowned and protested, but was lifted by the man who took him into the kitchen, the excuse to get snacks. He still ate, and Wade isn't letting him hear what has to be said just yet, and he closed the door over so they'd have privacy. Shadow chewed his lip, not wanting to relive the memories. He remembers some, it's just a jumbled mess. Some areas foggier than others, but being hit by a car did not mean he was that in need of fluids or someone's blood. His body would have done what it needed, but they didn't know that, did they?
Shadow.
Tom spoke, gaining his attention.
I don't want to hold you down, bud. I'm sorry, but you need to rest this off. So if I let go, will you not go for the tubes?
He was about to scoff and say no, but the sheriff beat him to it.
Please?
His voice sounded quite sad, quite desperate. Shadow swallowed hard, not at all sure how to take that from the man. He numbly nodded and sighed. Maybe he can remove them when they aren't looking, because he certainly doesn't need it, not to this extreme over a tumble. So Tom hesitantly pulled his hands back, but Maddie kept hers on his injured side, her hand rubbing gently. Sonic sat at her other side.
Shadow, tell us what you remember.
He asked the black sapient.
So we can tell you in case you missed anything.
He was unusually serious. Normally by now he would be all cheerful and joke about, but there was nothing about that on him. For as long as he knew this hedgehog, this was strange. Everyone around him was being strange. How bad did he mangle his arm up? He tried to recall if anything stood out. He knew he and Wade's vehicle collided, and he ran into the woods, not having an idea where he was going, just he needed to get away before the blue hedgehog found him. His eyes widened. Did he maybe damage his spine somehow? It likely was fixed now, but could that be why they were worried? He remembers trying to dodge a herd of deer. Then he tumbled down the hills.
I tried to avoid a herd of deer, and my foot got caught on some rock. I went tumbling down the hills.
He muttered, recalling the memory as if he was there again.
I think I went back first into a tree. I snapped it.
The residents around him stared in disbelief, but he kept going.
The tree fell, and I had to dodge, so I went further down, tumbling more. I somehow ended up at the lake, and there I went. I sat and watched the water. I don't know how long for.
Oh, how could he ignore the piece of tree inside of him? Maddie rubbed her head and sighed.
Oh, honey, why did you ignore it?
Is that how your arm was maimed? Or was it the collision of the vehicle?
Neither. I did it to myself, I think.
He couldn't look at the disbelief on their faces. It was beginning to be too much for him.
Why on Mobius would you do such a thing?
Knuckles' lip curled somewhat, some anger coming through. Then Sonic clicked.
You didn't realize, did you? That you had, at the time...
Shadow grimaced, confirming their suspicions. Sonic had his moments when he did things he didn't realize, just not to the extreme of Shadow.
I wanted anything to get away from what I had done. And I heard that disgusting voice of a man.
A voice? Tom blinked and he frowned. Someone Shadow must loathe in order for him to do that. He must have got lost in another memory. So much so he damaged his arm to chase that feeling away.
It was unintentional. But that shouldn't have been that bad that I'd need this.
He gestured to the fluid.
I don't need.
I'm not sorry.
Maddie stated, gaining a puzzled look from the black sapient.
If it helps save your life, Shadow, I'm not sorry. While I am that I've unintentionally hurt you and went against what you'd have wanted, I wasn't willing to risk you dying over it.
Dying? His arm wasn't that bad. It wasn't like it was hanging off or anything. He grinded his teeth and forced himself to sit up despite his insides asking him to stop moving. He saw Tom and Maddie try prevent him, so he let a growl at them to stop trying to force him back down.
I am fine. Don't force me back down.
You aren't in a research lab, Shadow.
Tom had his own level of sternness, making the black sapient stiffen.
This isn't that place. We will help look after you, and I told you this. So you aren't moving much more than that, 'cause you need the rest. This not up for negotiation.
But I don't.
I don't care how good your healing is or could be. You are still under our roof, our care, and you aren't going to be any different. Is that clear?
Maddie could just feel the fatherly aura oozing from her husband here. He almost looked ready to ground him. Tom certainly acted like the professor when it came to Maria at times. He was too stunned to fight the man back, and he blinked at him. Maddie sighed and reached out, stroking his quills in assurance.
Stop pushing us away, Shadow. I know you want to let people in. I know you're scared too, but you are with us now. This is your home, so please listen to us.
He remembered what Tom said, that Green Hills was his home, that staying with them was home. It was still a lot to adjust to. He numbly nodded, muzzle heating up with embarrassment. Plus he was too drained to try anything.
At least we know what you did to your back now.
Sonic hummed, taking a gander at the kitchen.
Should we let Tails come back?
Was the tree sap bad or something?
Shadow asked, and the entire room went quiet. Sonic froze in confusion. He turned his head slowly to the black hedgehog, who started to look just as confused.
Tree sap.
Sonic reiterated, very confused on what Shadow meant.
The what now?
The tree sap. I mean, sure, I was stuck to the tree, but the bruising should be all that was there, besides the wetness at the time.
He said, sounding a little too casual for the blue sapient. He flexed his fingers, still not liking the needles in his veins. He's going to remove it when they aren't looking. Did he have no idea a part of a tree was lodged in his back? Does he truly think they all panicked over his arm and the car hit? Okay, the car hit made the most sense. His arm was salvageable. Was he that adrenaline-filled he never even registered it? Surely the pain would have had him thinking that something was wrong.
You thought you...
Sonic stammered, not fully believing it. Knuckles clicked as well, and he grimaced.
This cannot be happening.
You thought you had tree sap stuck to your back?
Sonic cried out, hands going in his quills, and Shadow gave him a rise of an eyebrow.
Yes? Isn't that why my back was wet?
His brows furrowed, like he wasn't understanding what the issue was. Maddie looked at Tom, both of them not believing what they heard, the implication. Shadow not only went full force into a tree, he snapped it somehow, got stuck on the lower part because of a piece of it kept him there, thought it was sap keeping him, and he pulled with enough force to snap it from the tree, where it stayed inside him. This disaster boy of a hedgehog. Tom wants to get him done up in padding and bubble wrap and prevent this for the seeable future. He winced, rubbing his face. He's aged a few years, that's guaranteed. Shadow let out a sigh and adjusted himself, turning his head to look at his arm, to see how healed up it would be, with the reserved chaos energy. He's quite sure it was in his rings again, so it should be healing up. He fully intended to take the bandage off.
You all are overreacting.
Shadow, you had a piece of a tree stuck inside you.
Shadow froze.
How could you not realize it?
He what? He whipped his head back at the blue sapient, thinking he was telling a grand and untrue story about the bruise that was now possibly on his back. But his face and the echidnas held no such things. Even Maddie and Tom were much the same. No, it was just tree sap. He's certain that what it was. Knuckles pursed his lip.
I have it.
Shadow looked at the echidna in disbelief.
I wanted to show you as a memento how you won the battle. But to think you weren't even aware of it.
I what?
He whispered, still not fully believing what he was hearing. How big was it? How bad was it? The soaring pain he had. He just put it down from going at a high speed right into the tree and suffering bruising.
But that's why we had to have these injections in you. You lost a lot of blood, Shadow. We didn't.
Tom swallowed. He didn't have to finish that sentence. He knew they all thought he wasn't going to make it. How much did he bleed for that to happen? But they don't know his body would have tried to heal the wound to stop it being threatening. But how can it when it was lodged? His healing must have started with his organs to prevent inside bleeding, if it pierced any. No wonder he felt extremely tired, despite resting a day. His chaos reserves that he managed to save were likely drained, and needing time to replenish. Fantastic. He was so used to being told to suck up his injuries, keep going at any cost, any test or experiment, that it never occurred to him that he potentially had something pierced inside him, and that is the way he was treating it. But these people didn't know that, nor how his body works, because he never told them, so they spent the better time of the day guessing, and doing stuff to keep him alive. Where's Jiwen? The scientists would have let him bleed, tell him to remove it himself and heal, because he was the ultimate life form after all. The weapon doesn't need care or love. But then you meet these people who gave him the care regardless how strange he was at times. He felt so lost and confused, and he must have looked like it because Maddie leaned over and hugged him tightly in assurance, and he allowed it, too tired and stunned to really push her off. But at the same time he didn't want to. They all cared so much. Despite what he was, if Tom told them.
You've been out 2 days, Shadow.
Knuckles spoke up, surprising the black sapient further.
We are now residing in June.
Did he really lose that much blood his body forced the rest upon him? It wasn't a day but 2? Tom got his attention.
You are home, Shadow?
He repeated what he said to the black hedgehog before.
So please, let us in, bud, and don't ever do that to us again. My heart can't take it. I thought you died in my arms.
Shadows bit his lip, hearing the tiredness, the stress, yet the care and the worry. He never knew someone could hold so much emotion in tone alone. He just numbly nodded, letting Tom place his hand on the sapient's head. It didn't register to him what the man said, that Tom thought he was dead in the human's arms. Maddie knew Shadow was being treated the same way her boys would be, and it wasn't going to change. But did Shadow realize that?
I'll go say to let Tails in. Now we have the tree issue spoken out loud.
Sonic muttered tiredly and rubbed his face. He can't believe that Shadow had no idea about it. The Master Emerald let out a small soft glow in its box, gaining his attention. The familiar hum returned to the black hedgehog, and he let out a grateful sigh, feeling its energy once again in connection. So he pulled back ever so slightly and began to pull off the bandage on his arm, earning a protest from Maddie, but he kept at it, removing it, and he turned to show her and Tom in trust. The area had been shaved somewhat so he could have stitches, but Maddie got her confirmation, as did Tom. Shadow's stab wounds were scarring. In fact, they looked like more than 2 days old. They were healing and the stitches were pushed out. Even his bruising around the area wasn't too bad. It bewildered them. If that's what they look like now, what's his back going to be like? If he kept getting energy and food, his back will not be any different. It's likely already scarring, but it will take longer. His body tends to try close life-threatening wounds and seal it, the worst to least. If he had multiple wounds, either his body instinctively would heal it enough to close, then focus on the other ones while spoon-feeding the rest. If he had been awake and known, he could have focused in the one area specifically to heal faster. Perhaps he can get a start once he regains the strength to do so. Knuckles looked alarmed, and so did Sonic, both remaining silent seeing the unnatural healing of the ebony hedgehog. Sonic looked about ready to faint. Shadow ignored them. It stunned everyone he was willing to show his advanced healing when before he was quite skittish in doing so. Maybe, 'cause he knows they won't try and test on him? Or is it the trust that's been built over the month? Maddie pursed her lip and gave Shadow a once-over.
Can I check your back before we let Tails in?
She asked for his permission, and to her surprise he nodded. He began unwrapping his bandage, but she stopped him and he frowned, until she began doing it herself so he didn't strain any further. Both her and Tom took a look and were much more floored. His lower back fur had been shaved so they could stitch. And as they see, the stitches were on the bandage, and the wound? It had scarred over. It wasn't as good as his arm, but they could make out the smallest sections were all but healed, gone like he didn't even have a scar line there. The worst was the bruising. It was black and blue, but that was to be expected. But will it eventually go quicker than the scarring? He did have good healing, and it fried the both of them. It hurt the both of them. It saddened both of them. Especially Maddie because of the bone fracture implications she found evidence of. Tom's breathing hitched, indicating to her he's going to take a massive freak out about this.
You are still resting.
Tom forced out, trying to keep his freak out from happening, his mouth twitching in response.
Like I said, don't care how good your healing is, you need to rest. So,
he slapped his hands together a little too forcefully, earning bewildered looks from his other two sons.
Who's hungry?
Father.
Yup. I'll go let Tails in. Maddie, can you rewrap?
Shadow looked at him confused as to why he should have it rewrapped if it's healing, but Tom motioned for her, and she did exactly what he said while he made his way to the kitchen to let the fox back in. Shadow sighed and let her continue the rewrapping. Maybe it's so the fox doesn't see it?
Well, you're welcome for the blood. I hate needles. Makes my fur crawl.
Shadow whipped his head to the blue hedgehog in shock.
You donated your blood to me.
Why are you surprised? I'm not that heartless, geez. You needed a blood transfusion, dude. Knuckles had his done too.
The echidna nodded. Maddie hadn't used his bag yet. It was stored away in the fridge just as in case. Sonic was the O blood type, which was safer to do first. So if she didn't use Knuckles, she was going to have it build up in the future for emergencies.
But I'm the one that is supposed to give, not take. I'm compatible to all types of blood.
Oh goodness no. Not another grenade. Sonic was not going to acknowledge that right now. No. The heck does he mean he's compatible with all types? You know.
Nope.
Sonic held up his hand, puzzling Shadow again.
Dude, you can't say stuff like that casually. You needed help. I helped. That's it.
Maddie felt incredibly sad hearing that. Now she understood the results. He was made to be a match to everyone. Her heart just could explode from the implication. She's gonna have to tell Tom that one, so she hugged him again and he stuttered, blushing at her affection. It definitely reminded him of Maria. Sonic flopped himself down onto his parents' mattress and groaned into it. Knuckles sat down a lot more graceful and gave his brother a tired pat.
You are our brother, our fellow member of our tribe.
Knuckles said, and Shadow's eyes widened.
Of course we'd help you. It is time to realize your place within the tribe.
What if it still takes me?
He was about to continue, but Knuckles held up his hand.
Even if it takes you months, you are in our tribe, Shadow. A tribe looks after each other, and we will with you.
He patted his brother still.
There will be times we will fight, but that is normal in every tribe. Take this one, for example.
Love you too, Nux.
Imperfections are a part of life. He certainly is.
Knuckles chuckled at the glare he was getting.
Let me guess. You are perfect.
Well, since you said that, how nice of you, brother.
He grinned at the disbelief on his face. Sonic looked ready to wrestle with him. Tails decided to jump on the blue hedgehog, causing him to grunt out from the force, and he grinned. Looks like Tom finally let him in.
So what did I miss?
They all heard Tom let out a scream and they all looked alarmed. except for Maddie, who shook her head.
Don't worry, your dad is fine. He's just being a goofball.
Well, apart from our father, screaming like a deranged bird.
Knuckles mused, earning a laugh from Tails and Sonic, both snickering away. Maddie smiled. Despite the tiredness, she just loved how her boys made situations normal again. It was certainly needed right now. Wade is likely trying to calm her husband down, so she felt fine to stay where she was. She'll join the freak out when everyone's asleep. But a memory jolted in Shadow's mind. An engine of a car, Maddie and Sonic with Tom talking. He heard a few sentences in his ears and he turned to the fox, feeling guilt for possibly upsetting him. He was still a child, at least Shadow was somewhat older like the other two. He took a deep breath and decided to go out his comfort zone. He had to.
Tails, I am sorry.
He muttered and the two stopped snickering. Even Maddie gave him a glance. Their attention only made him want to go into a turtle, but he continued.
It wasn't your fault. I panicked and I couldn't contain it. But what happened, I don't want you thinking it was your fault. Nor do I want you to feel like you can't ask me stuff. I should just tell you when I'm not comfortable. It's not an excuse. I'm just honestly not used to it.
He swallowed nervously. He's not good at this. It's been years since he was this open. The last time was with Maria.
I don't know.
Can you try?
Tails tilted his head.
Letting me know, I mean.
The benefit of being a young kid, you tend to move on from things.
If you're okay with me trying?
He asked, not at all sure if the fox would want to be around him without his older brothers.
You do look like you are really sorry.
I truly am.
He whispered, glancing at his rings, rubbing one of them.
You can make it up to me then. I want a Goofy movie marathon, and I'll make a list of demands, but for now I will accept.
Maddie smiled at her youngest.
And I want you to come with me to the library.
Shadow looked at him with horror at the end part of it.
Shadow, you are braver than you think. Please, we'll be there with you every step of the way.
Knuckles and Sonic looked at each other, wondering if he would ever even think about going into town. They can't hide him forever. Someone is bound to find out.
You are safe. But for now, let us do small steps. Tails is right. You are braver than you know. Let us show you the beauty of Green Hills and its people.
Shadow swallowed hard. It's not that. It's not about being brave. He was just worried about Jiwen. Something washed into him. Something familiar. The Master Emerald sent its calm and ever-knowing intent to him. Safe. He blinked. Maybe he needs to let them in and try to live again. He's not doing them favors or himself by hiding away. He's been trying to protect them from Jiwen finding this location. But maybe they won't. Especially with the Emerald insistent. Is it? Maybe keeping him off the radar? He took a deep breath. He felt Maddie keeping him close. So he leaned into her touch. She stiffened with surprise but did not move.
Okay, I'll try.
Tails' eyes lit up with surprise and gave him a big comforting smile, his two tails wagging.
Can I at least wait until this has healed? I don't feel like going today.
But that earned a laugh off Maddie and the fox.
Oh baby, Tails didn't mean today, just when we've all recovered from what happened. We'll wait until your wounds heal more.
He let out a sigh of relief and leaned into her touch even further, not flinching away from this kind woman, taking in her scent.
Goofy movie marathon tomorrow. Yes!
He pumped his fist, earning an affectionate grin off the blue hedgehog. Knuckles chuckled along. Shadow recognized the name from the game Sonic showed him.
Isn't Goofy the Knight?
He pointed out tiredly, just from the emotional state he's been in.
Well, this will blow your mind.
Maddie mused, stroking his quills with affection. Shadow sleepily listened to Tails go on about the movie, not telling him the plot but just a general gushing about it. Maddie kept him close, her body heat making him tired further. He was oddly content despite the trials of the last couple of days. He only hoped that they'd accept what he is when he tells them. Sonic suddenly declared he's going to build him a Pokemon team with Tails, who gladly said he'd help assist. They had added his profile to the Switch so he could play on his own save files. Shadow just kept listening, only adding a word here or there, with Knuckles pitching in about having fighting types like Hitmonchan and Hitmonlee, which resulted in both Sonic and Knuckles bickering about types, and the scent of food made its way into the air.
What is it with you and fighting types? At least pick Lucario?
They are good fighters. I do not wish to hear it from a legendary spammer.
He bit back and Sonic gasped loudly.
I am not.
Magneton rules. Just saying.
Shadow just looked confused, so he settled in just for listening. Maddie kept stroking his quills. Maddie smiled softly at her boys, always making the effort, always making any situation feel normal again, and no one can tell her who had the best kids in the world, because it was them. She only hopes they extend it to Shadow when they find out about him being a former Robotnik. But first she'll give it another few days. Let the Ebony Boy heal, and let them all get some decent rest before throwing another bombshell, cause this month will be testing all of them. Between telling the boys, introducing Shadow to the town and Sonic's birthday and meeting family members, she just prays it all goes smoothly and not have too many antics. Cause boy was she needing a breather. Being a mother never stopped, especially with 3 Mobian kids. Well, make that 4 now.